Why? Your trauma is your greatest career asset, and the elite don't want you to know it. Good afternoon, y'all. Welcome to the Soft Girl Era podcast, where we unlearn survival and rediscover softness, rest, and radical joy without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. And I am so honored, so deeply honored to be here with you today. Now, I want to tell you about someone who is shifting the entire game for Black women in this country. Her name is Lakeisha Gantt. And honey, this woman is doing the Lord's work in the most practical, powerful way. Lakeisha is out here helping Black women entrepreneurs and leaders navigate a job market that is systematically stacked against us. She's showing us how to bounce back from trauma, from discrimination, from tokenism with grace, with grit, and with an authenticity that shakes the foundation of what success is supposed to look like. She's a beacon for our sisters who have been working twice as hard for half the credit, and today I'm going to share the powerful, disruptive insights she gave me. Insights that just might change the way you see vulnerability, authenticity, and success in a world that profits from our silence. So let's dive in, darling. Here's something that might surprise you, that might even make you uncomfortable. Lakeisha told me that being raw and authentic, sharing the messy, painful, unpolished parts of our stories, like surviving a public divorce that nearly took your life, healing from that trauma in real time, and facing discrimination as a Black woman in space that don't value us, gets cheers from everyday folks, but side eyes, cold shoulders, and closed doors from them high political circles, from them elite spaces we've been taught to aspire to. Now, ain't that something? We've been conditioned, programmed, taught from the time we were little girls that to succeed, especially in elite spaces, we got to polish ourselves up, code switch our voices, our mannerisms, our very essence, and present this perfect, untouchable image. But Lakeisha's experience and the research she shared with me tells a completely different story. That raw truth, that vulnerability, that willingness to show your scars builds real respect where it counts, challenging the deeply ingrained idea that fitting into elite spaces, that conforming to their standards is the only path to success. See, we've been conditioned to believe that vulnerability is weakness, that showing emotion, showing pain, showing the reality of what it takes to survive as a Black woman in America is unprofessional, is too much, is something to be ashamed of. But, honey, in a job market where Black professionals face biased artificial intelligence, hiring systems, tokenism, despite having all the qualifications and then some, and discrimination that doubles down in male dominated fields, vulnerability ain't weakness, it's our superpower. It's the thing that connects us to real networks, opens doors that elite circles might close and lock, and reminds our sisters that we are not alone in this fight. Now, Lakeisha gave me three key insights, three practical, life changing gems for our Black entrepreneurial sisters and leaders to carry forward. And I want to share them with you because these aren't just tips, darling. These are survival strategies, these are reclamation tools. First, work twice as smart, not just harder. Now, we know the statistics, and they're brutal. Hiring is 20% below pre pandemic levels, and Black unemployment rises faster than any other group in this country. 75% of Black professionals feel unprepared for job searches, and nearly 40% struggle to stand out due to competition and skills gaps that are manufactured by systems that never wanted us to succeed in the first place. But here's the thing, sugar, in this market, you gotta highlight in demand skills like artificial intelligence literacy and adaptability on LinkedIn. Don't just apply and hope and pray. Message recruiters directly. Research shows that doing that triples your odds of getting noticed, of getting your foot in the door. We've been working twice as hard for half the credit for too long, for generations. It's time to work twice as smart and demand, not ask, demand the credit we deserve. Second, heal publicly to lead boldly, surviving personal traumas, whether it's a public divorce that nearly destroyed you, discrimination that made you question your worth, or the weight of being a token in spaces that don't see your full humanity, builds resilience. But here's the counterintuitive, disruptive part that the elite don't want you to know. Sharing your raw story, healing publicly, not behind closed doors, not in whispers, but out loud, connects you to networks and opens doors that polished perfection never could and never will. 75% of Black professionals feel unprepared for job hunts, and authenticity, that raw, unfiltered, unedited truth, is what helps us stand out in a sea of polished resumes and rehearsed in interviews. It's what reminds folks that we're not just resumes and LinkedIn profiles and bullet points. We're whole human beings with stories, with scars, with strength that can't be quantified on a spreadsheet. Third, pivot without apology. Nearly half of Black professionals are switching to freelance or entrepreneurship amid diversity, equity, and inclusion rollbacks and workplace discrimination. That's getting worse, not better. And you know what? That's not a failure, honey. That's not a step backward. That's a reclamation. That's taking back your power. Lean on your network, build a personal brand rooted in your truth, and embrace raw narratives to turn token roles, those soul sucking positions where you're the only one in the room who looks like you, into launch pads for independence, for freedom, for building something that's yours. We don't need permission to pivot. We don't need to apologize for choosing ourselves, for choosing our peace, for choosing our mental health. We just need to do it boldly and unapologetically. Now, let me share some stories that Lakeisha brought to my attention, stories that illustrate these insights in real, powerful, heartbreaking, and ultimately triumphant ways. First, there's Dawn Harris, a Black female tech executive in Atlanta. Dawn navigated tokenism in a Fortune 500 firm amid the 2025 layoffs that devastated so many of our communities. She worked twice as hard, came in early, stayed late, did the work of three people, yet was treated as a trophy hire, a diversity checkbox, facing biased artificial intelligence, screening systems, and discrimination that questioned her qualifications at every turn. But Dawn didn't let that define her, didn't let that break her. She built a LinkedIn presence highlighting her artificial intelligence skills, networked directly with recruiters who saw her value, and shared raw career stories in her posts, stories about the pain, the rejection, the nights she cried herself to sleep wondering if she was good enough. And you know what happened? She landed a senior role that tripled her prior salary. The lesson: authenticity trumps polish every single time. Dawn rose from entry level after divorce trauma, bouncing back via freelance work to prove her qualifications beyond token status, beyond being someone's diversity hire. She was promoted twice in 18 months and mentored over 50 Black women who were walking the same painful path she had walked. Her impact: she inspired an industry shift towards skills based hiring for underrepresented talent. Dawn's story is proof, living proof, that when we show up as our whole, authentic, messy, beautiful selves, we don't just change our own lives. We change the game for our sisters, for the next generation. Then there's Dr. Aisha Thompson, a Black healthcare leader in Chicago. Aisha survived public scrutiny post divorce while climbing the ranks amid diversity, equity, and inclusion cuts that felt like a betrayal. The stress from that divorce trauma, compounded by discrimination in boardrooms where she was the only Black woman, was almost life threatening. She felt like a token, working harder than everyone else for half the recognition, half the respect. But Aisha made a choice, a powerful, life changing choice. She embraced raw storytelling and podcasts, pivoted to consultancy using her adaptability skills, and reached out to her networks with honesty, with vulnerability, with truth. Her freelance revenue grew 200% in less than a year. The key lesson: healing publicly fuels entrepreneurial bounce back. Post trauma, Aisha faced job market opacity and bias that made her want to give up, but she refused to let that stop her, refused to let that define her worth. She launched a firm serving over 100 clients and spoke at 20 conferences, sharing her story, sharing her pain, sharing her triumph. Her impact: she advanced Black women in health leadership and pushed for inclusive hiring practices that are changing the industry. Aisha's story reminds us that our trauma, our raw and unfiltered truth, ain't something to hide in shame. It's something to share, to heal from publicly, and to use as a bridge to help our sisters cross over from survival to thriving. And finally, there's Monique Reed, a Black entrepreneur in finance from Houston. Monique tackled job market biases as a qualified token in corporate America, a space that never truly welcomed her. She faced discrimination and skills gap perceptions. Despite her qualifications, despite her degrees, despite her experience carrying trauma from unequal opportunities that told her she wasn't enough. But Monique focused on personal branding, shared raw experiences online that made people uncomfortable, and targeted freelance work via LinkedIn skills matching. She built a six-figure consultancy from the ground up. The takeaway: raw authenticity gains layperson respect over elite approval, and that layperson respect, that grassroots support, is more powerful, more sustainable, more real. Monique bounced back from career stalls and personal setbacks, refusing to code switch, refusing to shrink herself for a genuine voice that resonated with real people. She secured contracts with 30 firms and trained 200 professionals on standing out in a market that wants us to blend in, to disappear. Her impact: she boosted the Black freelance economy and challenged tokenism in finance. Monique's story is a testament to the power of refusing to shrink ourselves to fit into spaces that don't value us, that never will. Now, darling, these stories, these powerful, disruptive insights from Lakeisha Gantt, they all point to one big, transformative, revolutionary idea. The idea that in a world that teaches us survival, that demands we work twice as hard for half the credit, that tokenizes us and discriminates against us and profits from our pain, our greatest act of rebellion, our greatest source of power is softness. It's authenticity. It's healing publicly and leading boldly. It's pivoting without apology and refusing to wear the superwoman cape that's been weighing us down, crushing our spirits, stealing our joy. See, we've been taught that strength means never showing weakness, never letting them see us sweat, never admitting that we're tired, hurt, or healing. But that's a lie, honey, a dangerous, soul destroying lie. Real strength is saying I survived a public divorce that nearly took my life and I'm still healing, and that's okay. Real strength is saying I've been discriminated against, tokenized, undervalued, and overlooked, but I'm still here and I'm still worthy and I'm still powerful. Real strength is choosing softness in a world that taught us survival, that taught us to be hard, to be tough, to never let them see us cry. And here's the thing, the powerful disruptive thing: when we do that, when we show up raw and authentic and vulnerable, we don't just heal ourselves, we create space, sacred space, for our sisters to heal too. We open doors that polished perfection never could, never will. We build networks rooted in real respect, not performative approval, not tokenism, not diversity check boxes. We shift the narrative from hustle as identity to rest as resistance, from grinding ourselves into the ground to grounding ourselves in joy, in peace, in softness. Lakeisha Gantt is out here doing this work every single day, showing Black women entrepreneurs and leaders that their trauma, their raw truth, their softness ain't weaknesses, they're superpowers. And the research backs this up, darling. 75% of Black professionals feel unprepared for job searches, but those who focus on skills, network directly, and share authentic stories stand out in ways that polished resumes never could. Nearly 40% struggle due to competition, but authenticity cuts through that noise like a knife through butter. Workplace discrimination persists, gets worse every year, but diversity training and clear values mitigate it. Black professionals are often underpaid by 20 to 30%, stuck in salary ruts that feel impossible to escape. But those who pivot to freelance or entrepreneurship, who build personal brands rooted in raw narratives, are reclaiming their worth, their power, their freedom. So here's my challenge to you, Sugar. Here's what I want you to walk away from this talk thinking about, feeling in your bones, ready to act on. What if sharing your rawest trauma, that public divorce, those token tears, that twice the work grind, ain't just healing for you, but the key to unlocking doors for our sisters? What if your pain, your story, your truth is the bridge that helps another Black woman cross over from survival to thriving? This week, I challenge you, I dare you to post one authentic story on LinkedIn, tag a recruiter, share your raw truth, the messy, painful, beautiful truth of what it's taken for you to get where you are. Watch your network shift, watch doors open, watch your sisters reach out and say, "Me too, I thought I was alone." Because bouncing back ain't solo, darling. It's our collective power. It's our revolution. It's how we change the game, not just for ourselves, but for every Black woman who comes after us. Stop waiting for permission from elite spaces that will never truly see you. Stop code switching yourself into exhaustion. Stop wearing that superwoman cape that's crushing your spirit. Choose softness, heal publicly, pivot without apology. Work twice as smart, not just harder. Build a world where your raw, authentic self is celebrated, not side eyed, not tolerated, but celebrated. That's the soft girl era. Honey, that's the revolution. And it starts with you today, right now. Go out there and reclaim your power, your peace, your softness. The world is waiting for your truth.